Princess Liara of the Cathari Empire was perfect by every measure her people valued. She had the shimmering silver hair of her ancestors, eyes that reflected the stars, and a mind sharper than the greatest scholars in her galaxy. To her people, she was a jewel, a symbol of beauty, intelligence, and strength. Every alien lord dreamed of winning her hand in marriage. Every courtier bowed in awe of her presence. Yet for all her perfection, Liara carried a deep, unspoken sorrow. From the day she came of age, suitors from distant worlds had arrived at her palace, hoping to claim her as a bride. They offered wealth beyond imagination, alliances with powerful empires, and promises of eternal glory. But time and again, Liara found herself rejected, not for her appearance, not for her rank, but for the one thing she had that made her different: her heart. She cared too much. She loved too freely. She asked questions, sought truth, and desired a life beyond rules and politics. Her suitors admired her beauty and mind, but none could accept her soul. Alone in her golden palace, Liara often wandered through the corridors lined with glowing crystal panels and intricate carvings. Her hands brushed over the smooth surfaces, and she whispered to herself, "Why am I so unworthy? Why does no one see me for who I truly am?" The laughter and voices of the court faded into silence as she moved through the halls, a solitary figure in a world that celebrated her yet never truly knew her. Even her closest advisors could not understand her. They suggested more suitors, grander displays, stricter rules, but Liara felt none of it mattered. She longed for someone who could see beyond her title, her beauty, and her accomplishments. She wanted someone who could love her for her heart, not her crown. In the quiet nights, she would stare out of the palace's tall windows at the distant stars. She had read stories of humans, small, fragile beings from a tiny blue planet called Earth. They were not powerful like the lords who sought her hand, nor were they known for grand intellect or ancient lineage, yet they had something her galaxy often lacked: courage to feel, passion to care, and a heart capable of simple but profound love. Liara's curiosity grew into hope. Perhaps among humans she could find what she had been denied all her life. One evening she made a decision. She would leave her empire, her gilded cage, and travel to this strange blue planet. Her advisors protested, calling it reckless, impossible. But Liara had already made up her mind. She would take a starship across the galaxies, alone, not as a princess, but as someone seeking love, the kind that mattered, the kind that could make her whole. As she prepared for the journey, she felt a mix of fear and excitement. She wondered if humans would accept her, if they would understand her, if she would even survive on such a fragile world. But deep inside, she felt a spark she had never felt with the most powerful lords in her galaxy. Perhaps this fragile human life could offer something the universe's greatest powers could not: a chance to be loved for herself. The royal starship's engines hummed as it lifted off from the Cathari palace. Liara pressed her hand to the glass, watching her home fade into the distance. Her chest ached with longing and hope. "I am tired of being perfect," she whispered. "I want to be seen, truly seen. Maybe, just maybe, they will love me for who I am, not what I am." With that thought, Liara let herself lean into the unknown. She was no longer just a princess. She was a traveler, a dreamer, and a heart seeking the one thing her galaxy could not give her: acceptance. As the stars stretched before her like a river of light, she whispered a silent promise to herself, to her heart, and to the unknown human who might one day see her as more than a princess, but as a woman worthy of love. Liara stepped out of her small starship onto Earth for the first time. The planet was nothing like her home. Trees swayed gently in the wind, birds sang in the mornings, and the sun cast a golden warmth that made her silver hair glow. She felt small, almost fragile, but strangely alive. Every sound, every smell, every flicker of life around her was new, exciting, and strangely comforting. She walked carefully through a quiet city park, watching humans interact with one another. Children chased each other, laughing so freely it made her heart ache with longing. Couples held hands, talking softly, sharing moments that seemed small but meaningful. Strangers smiled at each other, exchanged help without hesitation. Liara had never seen anything like it in her world, where people valued power, titles, and appearances over simple kindness. Her gaze fell on a man sitting on a bench, crouched beside a small, shivering puppy. He gently stroked its fur, whispering soothing words while offering it a bowl of water. His face was kind, his hands gentle and his eyes held a warmth that Liara had never known in all the courts of her galaxy. Something in him made her heart ache in a way she could not explain. Gathering her courage, she approached him. "Hello, I am Liara," she said softly, unsure if he would even understand her. Her accent was strange, her voice melodic, different from anything he had heard before. The man looked up, startled at first, but then his expression softened. "I'm David," he replied, smiling. He did not flinch at her appearance, nor did he stare. His reaction was simple, human, and full of curiosity. That simple kindness made her chest tighten. She had been admired for her beauty by thousands of powerful beings, yet never had anyone treated her with such calm respect. They began to talk. Slowly, carefully, David asked questions not about her powers, her rank, or her world, but about what made her happy, what she loved, what she feared. Liara felt a strange relief. For the first time, someone listened, not to her status, not to her legend, but to her heart. She laughed softly at his jokes, smiled genuinely at his stories, and even shared small details about herself that she had never told anyone. Days passed, and Liara returned to the park every morning. She and David explored simple human pleasures together, tasting ice cream for the first time, feeling the soft grass beneath their feet, watching the sun set over the horizon. Each moment made her feel lighter, freer, and more alive than she had ever felt in the golden halls of her palace. Yet, amidst the joy, there was fear. Liara knew the difference between them was immense. She was a princess from a distant galaxy, and he was a human from a small blue planet. Could a human truly love her? Could he understand her heart, her past, her loneliness? And could she bear the possibility of rejection once more? The fear of being abandoned, of being unloved again, shadowed her newfound happiness. David, too, felt something growing within him. He admired Liara not for her alien appearance or her royal blood, but for her curiosity, her laughter, and the way she seemed to see the world differently. He felt a connection that he could not explain. Something about her made him want to be braver, kinder, and better than he had ever been before. Yet, like her, he hesitated, unsure if their love could survive the differences between their worlds. One quiet evening, as the sun dipped below the city skyline, Liara watched children playing in the fading light. Her heart ached with longing and hope. "Maybe, just maybe," she whispered. "Humans can love in a way no one else in the galaxy ever could." David stood beside her, smiling at the same scene, unaware that the moment was more important than either of them realized. In that shared silence, the first real bridge between two worlds began to form, not through power, not through titles, but through simple human connection. Liara felt hope, fragile but strong, that perhaps she had finally found a heart that would see her not as a princess, but as a woman longing to be loved. Days turned into weeks, and Liara found herself drawn more and more to David. Every meeting, every conversation, every shared laugh made her heart beat faster. She had never felt this way before. Not with the lords of her galaxy, not with anyone who had sought her hand with promises of wealth and power. With David, she felt seen. She felt understood. And yet, with that joy came a shadow of fear that she could not ignore. Her mind was a battlefield of emotions. She remembered the countless suitors she had rejected, or who had rejected her for the way she truly was. They admired her beauty, her intelligence, her title, but they could not accept her heart. What made her think this human could? He seemed so ordinary, so fragile compared to the mighty beings she had known. What if, after everything, he could not handle the truth of who she really was? What if she lost him too? At night, when the city lights twinkled like tiny stars below her, Liara sat alone and pondered her fears. She thought of her past, the palace halls echoing with polite words and empty flattery. She remembered the loneliness that had haunted her for so many years. Her chest ached with a longing for someone who could love her simply, purely, without conditions. But the human heart, she worried, might not be strong enough to carry the weight of an alien princess. Meanwhile, David wrestled with his own doubts. He had felt a connection to Liara unlike anything in his life. Her curiosity, her laughter, her intelligence, it all fascinated him. Yet the thought of loving an alien, someone from a galaxy he had only ever seen in books and movies, terrified him. Could he truly keep her happy? Could he understand her world? Could he protect her if dangers from her empire arrived? The questions haunted him, but whenever he looked into her silver eyes, fear faded. He saw truth, vulnerability, and trust, and he realized that sometimes love demanded courage more than certainty. One evening, as they sat on a park bench under the golden glow of the streetlights, Liara could no longer hold back her feelings. Her hands trembled slightly as she reached out to him. "David," she whispered, her voice barely above the rustle of leaves, "I feel something I have never felt before. I think I am falling in love with you." David looked at her, his chest tightening. He wanted to speak, to tell her he felt the same, but words faltered on his lips. How could he explain that this ordinary human heart had grown to care for someone so extraordinary, someone so different from anything he had ever known? His fear of failing her battled with the strength of his feelings, leaving him silent. Liara waited, her heart pounding, unsure if her confession would push him away. She had been rejected by all the powerful beings of the galaxy. What if this was yet another rejection? She swallowed hard, forcing herself to remain composed, even as her mind raced with doubt. David finally reached out and gently took her hand in his. His touch was warm, grounding, and full of unspoken promise. "Liara, and I care about you," he said, his voice low but firm. "I don't know everything about your world, or how we will face the challenges ahead, but I know this. I want to be with you." Liara's heart swelled with a mixture of relief, joy, and disbelief. She had never imagined that a human, a simple being from a tiny planet, could offer her what the galaxy's greatest powers could not: acceptance, understanding, and love. Yet here it was, fragile but real, growing between them like a small flame that could withstand any storm. That night, as they walked under the stars, Liara felt something she had never felt in all her royal life: hope. The future was uncertain, the path ahead dangerous and full of unknowns, but for the first time she believed that love could be enough. Perhaps humans, with all their simplicity and bravery, could teach even a princess something she had never known: what it truly meant to be seen and to be loved. The days after Liara and David's quiet confession were filled with both joy and nervous anticipation. Liara felt lighter than she had in years, yet a tension lingered in her chest. She had never allowed herself to be this vulnerable before. She had spent centuries being admired for her title, her beauty, her intelligence. But now she longed to be loved for the simple truth of her heart. And the fear of rejection still haunted her. Every time she looked at David, she saw honesty and warmth in his eyes. He treated her like an equal, a friend, a companion, not a princess to be worshipped from afar. His laughter made her chest ache with happiness, and his kindness filled her with hope. And yet, Liara knew that what she felt was far more than friendship. Her heart was trembling with a feeling she could no longer ignore: love. But she had to be brave. She had to speak, to offer her heart fully, or risk losing the chance at the one thing she had longed for all her life. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the park in gold and crimson, Liara took a deep breath. She watched children play, their innocent laughter echoing across the quiet paths. Her heart raced. Every step toward David felt heavy with fear, yet light with hope. She spotted him sitting on the same bench where they had first met, reading a small book and smiling at the words. Seeing him so calm, so ordinary in the best way possible, gave her courage. She approached quietly, her hands trembling slightly. David looked up and smiled, sensing something different in her demeanor. Liara's eyes glistened with emotion as she sat beside him. She wanted to tell him everything, to strip away all pretenses and show him the vulnerable truth she had hidden from the galaxy. She wanted to ask for something she had never dared to hope for: a love that could cross worlds and survive everything. "David," she began softly, her voice carrying a mixture of fear and determination, "I know I am different. I know I come from a world you cannot imagine. And I know I have been rejected before, by those who were supposed to want me, supposed to see me. But with you, I feel something I never felt with anyone else. I feel safe. I feel happy. I feel love." David reached for her hand, holding it gently, encouraging her without words. Liara's chest tightened and she leaned forward slightly, meeting his gaze. "I cannot live without telling you this," she continued. "I do not care about my title, my kingdom, or what anyone else thinks. I care about you. I want to be with you, for as long as we both live. Will you be my spouse?" Time seemed to freeze. The world around them, the park, the trees, the children laughing in the distance faded into silence. Liara's heart pounded so loudly she feared David might hear it. She had been brave before in her life, facing political intrigue and galactic threats, but this was a courage of a different kind. It was the courage to expose her heart fully, to ask for love, and to risk rejection once more. David blinked, his eyes wide with surprise, then softened with something deeper, astonishment, awe, and finally love. His hands tightened around hers, warm and steady. "Liara," he said, his voice trembling with emotion, I don't care that you are from another world. I don't care about titles, crowns, or power. I only care about you. And yes, I will be your spouse. I want to spend my life with you." Liara's eyes filled with tears of relief and joy. For the first time in her life, she felt completely seen, completely accepted, completely loved. She had crossed galaxies, left her golden palace, and now here she was, holding a human hand and finding the love she had been searching for all her life. That night, as they walked under the starlit sky, Liara realized that courage and love were not about power or perfection. They were about vulnerability, trust, and the willingness to take a leap into the unknown. And in that moment, she knew that choosing David had been the bravest and most rewarding decision of her life. Liara and David's days together were filled with small joys, laughter, and learning. Each morning, the sunlight spilled across their faces as they walked through the parks or shared breakfast at tiny cafes. Liara marveled at the simplicity of human life, how the taste of bread, the warmth of tea, or the sound of a child's laughter could fill a heart with happiness. David, in turn, learned to see the universe through Liara's eyes. She spoke of galaxies beyond imagination, of civilizations with wonders humans could only dream of, and he listened, amazed at the breadth of her experience. Despite their growing love, challenges arose. Liara struggled with human customs, the way they dressed, spoke, even ate. She would sometimes overthink small gestures, worried she might accidentally offend David or the humans around them. David laughed gently when mistakes happened, reassuring her with patience and kindness. "It's okay," he would say, "you don't have to be perfect. I love you just as you are." His words wrapped around her like a warm blanket, melting away insecurities she had carried for centuries. Their differences, rather than separating them, became a bridge. Liara taught David to look at life with curiosity, to think beyond the boundaries of his small world, and to dream without fear. David taught Liara to enjoy simplicity, to cherish moments without planning, and to laugh without restraint. Slowly their worlds merged, not perfectly, but beautifully. The Cathari royal court, however, did not share their joy. Messages arrived, full of disbelief and disapproval. "The princess is dishonoring her bloodline," one noble wrote. "She has chosen a human, someone weak and insignificant. This cannot be allowed." Liara read the words with a mixture of sadness and resolve. She had faced rejection her entire life, but this time she would not falter. She had chosen love, and nothing, no empire, no title, no expectation could take it away. David felt the weight of the scrutiny too. He was just a human, untrained in politics or diplomacy, and yet he stood proudly beside Liara. "We face this together," he said, holding her hand tightly. "Your world may not understand, but we do. That's enough." His unwavering courage made her heart swell. She realized that love was not about fitting in or pleasing everyone. It was about finding someone who stood by you no matter what. In quiet moments, they would sit under the stars, sharing dreams and fears. Liara would speak of distant worlds, of the stars she had seen as a child, of the loneliness she had carried. David would tell stories of Earth, of human struggles, of small victories that made life worth living. They laughed, cried, and comforted each other. In those moments, it did not matter that they came from different worlds. Their hearts spoke the same language, one that transcended titles, species, and expectations. One afternoon, as they walked hand in hand through a blooming meadow, Liara realized something profound. She had been rejected by the most powerful beings in the galaxy, by those who should have seen her heart. And yet here she was, loved and cherished by a human, a being considered fragile, insignificant, and ordinary by her people. And that love, that simple, unwavering love, felt stronger than anything she had ever known. David noticed her thoughtful silence. "What are you thinking?" he asked. Liara smiled, a soft, genuine smile that reached her eyes. I am thinking that humans in their simplicity can be braver than any alien lord I have known. And that love is stronger than power, titles, or bloodlines. David squeezed her hand. Then we will face whatever comes next together. That's what matters. Liara nodded, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. She knew their journey would not be easy, but she also knew that with David by her side, she had finally found what she had sought all her life. Not admiration, not power, but true love. And that love would carry them across any distance, through any challenge. And beyond any expectation, Liara and David's love had grown stronger with each passing day, yet the universe had its own tests waiting. One morning, a grand starship descended from the sky, shimmering with authority and power. From it emerged a delegation of Cathari envoys, their expressions stern, their voices commanding. They had come to demand Liara's return, insisting that her place was among the stars, beside a Cathari lord, not on a fragile human planet. Fear and tension gripped David. He was just a human, untrained in politics or intergalactic protocol, and yet he stood firm beside Liara. He could feel the weight of centuries of tradition and power pressing down, threatening to crush them both. Liara's heart raced, but she met the delegation's gaze with calm determination. She was no longer just a princess obeying orders. She was a woman who had chosen love and would fight for it. The lead envoy stepped forward, his voice cold and commanding. Princess Liara, your actions bring shame to the Cathari Empire. You will return immediately or face consequences. Liara took a deep breath. She remembered every moment of rejection she had faced in her life. Every suitor who valued only her title and beauty, never her heart. Now she had a choice. Retreat to the safety of her golden palace or stand with the human who had shown her what love truly meant. She chose courage. I am Liara, she said, her voice steady, carrying a strength that surprised even herself. I am a princess, yes, but I am also a being who feels, who loves, who dreams. I choose to love someone who sees me for who I am, not what I am. I will not return to your court. My place is here with David, my chosen partner. A murmur ran through the delegation. Some looked angry, some bewildered, and others hesitant. Liara could feel the tension in the air, a pressure that could crush the human beside her, yet David did not falter. He took her hand in his simple human touch grounding her, giving her courage beyond measure. The lead envoy scoffed, raising a hand as if to command them apart. But David stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. You may come from powerful worlds, from empires that span galaxies, but there is something you do not understand. Love is not about power or fear. It is about trust, respect, and courage. Liara has chosen me, and I will stand by her no matter what you threaten. Liara's chest swelled with pride and emotion. Here was the truth she had suspected all along. Humans, though small and fragile compared to alien lords, possessed a strength unlike any other. Courage, empathy, and unwavering commitment were weapons far more powerful than any blade or throne. The delegation paused, taken aback by the human's conviction and the alien princess's unwavering choice. Slowly they realized that no force, no decree, could undo what had already begun. Liara had chosen freely, and David's heart was steadfast. Resistance seemed futile in the face of such courage. As the envoys finally withdrew, Liara and David embraced, their relief mingling with joy. Liara rested her head against his shoulder, feeling the steady beat of his human heart. You are stronger than I ever imagined, she whispered. David smiled, brushing a stray strand of her silver hair from her face. And you are braver than any force in the galaxy, he replied. Together, we can face anything. That night, as the stars shone above Earth, Liara realized a profound truth. Love did not need status, strength, or cosmic power to survive. It thrived on courage, honesty, and the willingness to stand together against impossible odds. She had been rejected by all the powerful beings in her life, but here, on this small blue planet, she had found a human who could love her wholly, without conditions, and fight for her with every beat of his heart. In that moment, she understood that humans, though seemingly fragile, carried a strength that could challenge empires, conquer fear, and create miracles. And she had the honor of standing beside one of them, not as a princess, but as a woman whose heart had finally found its home. Years passed, and Liara and David's bond only grew stronger. They had faced challenges that no ordinary couple could imagine. The expectations of alien empires, the whispers of human society, and the constant wonder of two vastly different worlds merging into one life. And yet through it all, their love endured. It had become a quiet force, steady and unbreakable, proof that courage, honesty, and devotion could triumph over even the greatest odds. The day of their wedding was simple yet beautiful. They chose a quiet field under a sky full of stars, far from the city lights where humans and a few curious Ketari had gathered to witness their union. Liara wore a flowing gown that shimmered like starlight, but David only noticed her eyes that had once been filled with loneliness, now shining with joy. She took his hands in hers, and he felt the weight and warmth of her trust, the depth of the love she had chosen to give him. The officiant spoke words that spanned both human and Cathari traditions, but Liara and David only focused on one another. In their eyes there was no difference of species, no fear of rejection, no lingering doubt. There was only love, pure and unwavering, a love that had defied empires and expectations, a love that had crossed galaxies to find its home. As they exchanged vows, Liara whispered softly, "I was rejected by all who should have loved me. I was admired but never seen. But you see me. You love me for who I am, not what I am. I give you my heart freely without fear, because I trust you completely." David's voice trembled with emotion as he replied, "Liara, I never thought a life could hold someone like you. You are brilliant, brave, and full of wonder. I promise to stand by you, to protect you, to laugh with you, and to love you with all that I am, for as long as we both live." When they sealed their vows with a simple embrace, the air seemed to shimmer around them. It was not the magic of alien worlds, nor the grandeur of palaces. It was the magic of love, simple yet eternal, the kind that humans were capable of and that even a princess could depend on. In the days and years that followed, Liara and David built a life together filled with joy and learning. Liara introduced David to the wonders of the stars, the marvels of her people's technology, and the depth of the galaxy's history. David showed Liara the beauty of human life, laughter in small moments, quiet mornings with nothing planned, the strength of ordinary people facing extraordinary challenges. They taught each other patience, empathy, and the importance of seeing the world through another's eyes. The Cathari royal court gradually accepted Liara's choice, not because it pleased them, but because they could see the undeniable truth. Love, even between the most unlikely beings, was a power far greater than politics or authority. Some even remarked in awe that humans, fragile as they seemed, carried a strength the galaxy could not ignore. Liara often thought back to the days of her loneliness, the rejection she had faced from every powerful being she had known, and now she realized that being rejected had led her to something far greater, a human heart that matched hers in courage, kindness, and devotion. She had crossed galaxies not for power or status, but for love, and in doing so, had discovered the true meaning of strength. One quiet night, as she and David sat beneath the stars, holding hands and watching the constellations twinkle above, Liara whispered, "I was alone. Until I found you." David smiled, brushing a stray strand of her silver hair from her face. "And I found a universe in you," he said. In that moment, the princess of a distant galaxy and the human who had loved her proved to the universe that love could break barriers, challenge expectations, and create a home in the hearts of those brave enough to open them. They had defied empires, faced fear, and embraced the impossible, and together they had won something far greater than power or glory. They had won each other, and in the vastness of the galaxy, beneath the same stars that had once watched her loneliness, Liara and David's love shone brightest of all, a testament to courage, humanity, and the enduring power of the heart. The end.